Take the prayer together, please. Master of all worlds, highest power, merciful parent of compassion, in your presence, eternal one, source of strength for us as you have been for our ancestors, we very humbly acknowledge you. What are we? What is our life that you have done such great kindness to us? Therefore, we place our appeals before you so that you may forgive and absolve us of all our faults and failings. Our faults never become barriers between us and you. And may it be your desire to prepare our hearts to feel awe and love for you. May you listen to these words of ours, and may you open our encumbered hearts to the mysteries of your Torah. May this our study be a source of pleasure before your throne of glory, like sweet incense. You shower down upon us the light of our souls, all the ways by which we define ourselves. The sparks of your holy servants, whom you have revealed these words so will shine and sparkle. May their merit, their ancestors' merit, the merit of their Torah, their innocence, their holiness, stand for us so as to prevent us from stumbling from these words. In their merit, may our eyes be illuminated as in the sweet singer of Israel. Open my eyes that I may gaze into the wonders of your Zohar. May the words of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart acceptable to you, my rock and my redeemer. For it is the eternal grants wisdom. It is from his mouth that knowledge and understanding issue forth. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Na 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 na. Ah na na na. Ah na 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 na. Ah na na na. Ah na 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 na. Na 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 na. na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Oh no 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 no. So, as far as I can tell, we're up to page 356. Yes, and we've been talking about the sabbatical year and the Jubilee year, and they stand in here for Rachel and for Leah, for Shekhinah and for Binah. For Shekhinah, the portal that is the interface point between God and the world. The lower mother is another word for describing Shekhinah, the divine presence in this world. And Binah is the upper mother, the higher mother. And Jacob is united with both Rachel and Leah. We've talked already about this idea that his passion was for Rachel, but he gets tricked into uniting with Leah as well. And we had the last line on 355. Rabbi Elazar says, "Come and see. Jubilee is universally concealed, unrevealed, while sabbatical is revealed." Okay, so these are the two qualities of Shvi'it and Yovel, and that's why Leah was hidden from Jacob. Rachel was the one who he meets at the well. She is his beloved at first sight. Leah is not somebody that he's drawn to, and yet he is compelled through Shekhinah's own connivance, with compelled to unite with Binah as well. So now, and of course, he works for Rachel and gets Leah, and then he works for Rachel and gets Rachel. Come and see. So we're at the top of 356, and I see that Beryl hasn't made it yet. We were at a Shiva Minyan together, and I thought she'd be here by now. So who's going to volunteer tonight to do our reading, please? All right, Craig. There you go.
Who just joined? Oh, okay.
John just joined.
Okay.
He made me co-host or something.
Come and see. When Jacob had served the first 7 years, a voice issued, saying, "Jacob, it is written from world to world. The world above, Jubilee, there, beginning. Those which are concealed, not revealed to you, stem from Jubilee. So they were concealed from Jacob, who didn't perceive them, thinking they stemmed from sabbatical. In order for him to make a beginning from the world above, they were hidden from him, for Jubilee is concealed. Then, after hidden years of Jubilee had passed, he served revealed years of sabbatical and was crowned with 2 worlds, embracing both."
Okay. So the Zohar explains that beginnings are always concealed. Right? How things begin is a mystery. The source of beginnings, in terms of anything that we can conceive of, the source of beginnings is inconceivable, although we can speak the name. So the upper mother is the source of all beginnings. She is the one who gives birth to all the rest of the unfoldings that are divine and that eventually result in the birthing of this world. This long, complicated chain of being. But to start, to begin, no one knows where the beginning really is. So that hidden quality comes from Yovel. And what is hidden is the possibilities, all of the possibilities that may develop, that may unfold. The Talmud says, Ein habracha mitzuya ela b'ma shesamui min ha'ayin. That blessing is not found except in things that are hidden from the eye. That blessing is not what you can tangibly measure. You can say, oh, look, I have 3 cars in the garage. I've got so many dollars in the bank. That's not the source of blessing. Real blessing is what is hidden from the eye, what is immeasurable. And blessing is related to beginning, because the word bracha, as understood in the Zohar's tradition, comes from the word brecha. It comes from Sefer HaBahir earlier than the Zohar. Okay, here comes Beryl. And that's the pool of beginnings, the pool of all possibilities and everything that can then develop. So here we have the Zohar explaining that Jacob is completely oblivious to this. Right? Jacob doesn't know what's happening because he can't know what's happening. How does this relate to us? Does anybody have anything to add in terms of our own post-biblical realities? All right, you're keeping it all hidden. Okay. I think that the implication is very strong, that all of the things that we conceive of in our own lives, how did they begin? Where did they begin from? We may have theories of it. We may have concepts that it all started. We lie down on the couch at our therapist's office, and it all started when I was 3 years old. But actually, the real starting is much more hidden from us. That's the Yovel. Of course, Yovel, we've had it before. Yovel is also tshuva. Right? Yovel is the place of beginnings because it's a place of returnings. All new beginnings are dependent on kind of a rebooting, returning to the source again and beginning again. This week's Torah portion, we have the idea of allotting territory to each tribe and then to each family and so on. So then 50 years go by and there are land deals, and this one gets involved with this piece of business, and this one marries this other person from another tribe, and the land ends up exchanging hands and going into this person's possession and that person's possession. And then what happens in Yovel? What does Yovel effect? It affects a return. We proclaim liberty throughout the land. Everybody that's incarcerated in their own life of obligations and debts and what they've gotten themselves into, they're free. The slaves are free, and then each person goes back to their ancestral beginning. Each person goes back to their ancestral estate, and then we start all over again. So the beginnings are hidden, but the beginnings do have a mysterious connection with endings and then re-beginnings. So Jacob doesn't understand this. He thought that it was all simple. He thought that Rachel was there given to him. And no, all those years he was under a misconception, right? He was fooled. And then only after the hidden years of Jubilee had passed, then he was able to start again. He does another 7 years. Only this time his beginning has been concretized and made revealed. And this time he really does work for Rachel. Okay. Beryl, we had to start without you. It was very, very difficult. What can I tell you? So,
I understand the roads were not, weather was not good for the roads. That's
yeah. All right. So Craig is doing an imitation of you for tonight. Okay, Craig, go ahead.
All right, Beryl, if you want to do it, you can. Otherwise, I'll continue for tonight. All right, come and see.
Go.
All right, come and see.
356,
Leah gave,
second paragraph. Come and see. Second, come and see on the page.
come and see. Leah gave birth to 6 sons and 1 daughter, fittingly so, for 6 directions stand above her. These 6 and 1 daughter emerged through the mystery of Jubilee. Rachel gave birth to 2 righteous ones, fittingly so, for sabbatical dwells constantly between 2 righteous ones, as is written, the righteous will inherit the land. Righteous one above, righteous one below. From righteous one above, she obtains supernal water. From righteous one below, female emits water toward male in consummate desire. Righteous one on this side, righteous one on that side. Just as male above dwells between 2 females, so female below dwells between 2 righteous ones.
Right. So we'll get to the rest of it in a second. So you read this and you go, it's unbelievable. The Torah really does follow the Zohar. Like the Torah obviously, figured out how to tell the story based on what the Zohar, explains here is necessary. So it turns out that Leah had 6 sons, they become 6 tribes, and 1 daughter. The 1 daughter is Dinah, right? So her story comes later. So fittingly so. So if Leah is Jubilee, if Leah is the upper mother engenders 6 more sphirot, 6 more divine energies that are part of the male realm of divinity. And finally, the 7th divine aspect is female, is Shekhinah. So voila, it's a perfect correspondence. So this is the way it should be. And we have here, fittingly so, for 6 directions stand above her. The 6 and 1 daughter, they all come out through the mystery of Jubilee. What's the 6 directions? So look at 299.
Leah gave birth to 6 sons and 1 daughter, fittingly so. Leah's 6 sons, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zevulun, symbolize the 6 sons of Bina, from Chesed through Yesod, who stand above Shekhinah, symbolized by Leah's daughter, Dinah. The term 6 directions derives from Sefer Yetzirah, where it refers to above, below, north, south, east, and west. Here, it designates Bina's 6 sons.
Okay, so it corresponds, I wouldn't say it designates Bina's 6 sons, but it corresponds to Bina's 6 sons. And these 6 directions, we take account of with, yes, Craig is acting it out for us as I'm speaking. What is that all about?
The lulav.
Right. When we have the lulav and the etrog on Sukkot, and we take it for the special prayers of praise to God, the Hallel and the Hoshanot and so on, we hold the lulav and the etrog and we then wave the lulav and the etrog to the 6 directions: north, east, south, west. That's the 4 horizontal directions, and then up and down. In the Sefer Yetzirah, which is an ancient book, a very enigmatic type of book. The scholars have all kinds of discussions about how to even describe such a book. It's a very short book, and it's written in very gnomic kinds of phrases, but it talks about these 6 directions as omakim, depths. So even the going up, even the above is a depth. These are all depths, and of course they are the kind of general directions that create space. So what Jubilee does by giving birth to all that comes below is this idea of filling space, right? Filling first a divine space, and then through her daughter, then filling out a world of spatiality that we experience ourselves. And of course, giving birth is itself a spatial act, because it's a change of space for the thing that is born, right? Being born in the literal kinds of ways that we talk about things being born biologically. When something is born, it leaves one space and goes into another space. If it doesn't leave that space, it will not be born, it will not live. So the idea of expansion through space, of exchanging space, of transforming one's spatial coordinates is part of life, and it's part of reality. So that's Leah's job. Leah's job is to make the space for what happens in space. What's Rachel's job? Rachel's job is different. Rachel's job is to give birth to 2 righteous ones. Right? She only has 2 children. She has 2 sons. They're Joseph and Benjamin, Yosef and Binyamin. So Yosef is identified as Yosef HaTzadik. In rabbinic literature, he's considered Yosef HaTzadik. You can read the notes. Yosef is a tzaddik, and we're going to get into more discussion in another second. But Yosef HaTzadik is identified then in Zoharic concepts with a divine locus of energy, specifically that sexual genital place of connection between the male and the female aspects of God. This is through the righteous one, through tzaddik, through Yesod. That's what makes it possible for God to unite with God's self and for God to be one. So that's Yosef. He has that divine aspect, just like Abraham has a divine aspect, and Isaac, and of course Jacob, who's our main focus of attention here. Benjamin, according to this discussion, is righteous one below. If you look at the top of page 357, so Danny Matt is careful. He writes righteous one, first line, right? Righteous will inherit the land. Righteous one above, righteous one below. He writes righteous one above. He writes it with capital R and capital O, because that's a divine aspect. Then righteous one below means a real human being below in this world, a righteous person. Obviously for the Zohar, the full righteous person is a righteous man, and that's Benjamin. So this is Rachel as Shekhinah. Rachel as Shekhinah is, as the paragraph then describes, she's stationed, she's located between 2 righteous ones, a divine righteous one and a human righteous one. Each one is her lover. The divine righteous one is, again, representative of her godly male partner who seeks to be united with her at all times. The righteous one below is the righteous Jewish person who loves God and who always wants to serve God and be at one with God and to cling to God and to be at one with God. And she's in the middle. She has love from both sides. But what does the Zohar say? From the righteous one above, she obtains supernal water. From the righteous one above, the righteous one pours into her the life-giving force of divine energy from above. From the righteous one below, female emits water toward male in consummate desire. This is what's called Mayin Nukvin. This is the response to love. Remember, in the Zohar, we have this very gendered idea. The male is the active one, the female is the passive one. But even in her passivity, she responds, she gets turned on. She gets passionately involved and yearns for her male lover. So that idea of her herself becoming aroused and creating her own emission of moisture, right? That's the sign of her own reaching out to above. And of course, that facilitates the union as well. That's what makes it possible for the union to be smooth and enjoyed by both parties. So that lower female waters, that comes from the righteous one below. So the righteous one below is, in that sense, again, very ambigendered. Is that the word? On the one hand, this is, a male Jew who seeks to commune with God. But of course, God, no matter how female God is still God vis-a-vis a human being. So in that kind of hierarchical concept, every male lover of God is a female. Every male lover of God, no matter how much they actively try to reach out to God, they are receiving from God every second, right? They are receiving life, they're receiving love, they're receiving sustenance and compassion and existence nonstop. So we are both male and female, and we, in our being female, are so connected up to Shekhinah that we are Shekhinah. What is another name for Shekhinah having to do with the Jewish people? Knesset Yisrael. Right? Knesset Yisrael, the assembly of Israel, the congregation, the congregating of all of Israel coming together. So, and the Zohar takes that very seriously. So the Jewish people are Shekhinah, and that means that in a certain sense, the Jewish people have become feminized in their role as the lovers of God. And that's what makes the union possible. So now the Zohar has this, ménage à trois idea, righteous one on this side, righteous one on that side. Just as male above dwells between two females, so female below dwells between two righteous ones. Right? Jacob is the male above. Jacob is Tiferet. Jacob is the central locus of the male lover of Shekhinah. And Tiferet is positioned halfway in between Bina and Shekhinah. So on the one hand, Jacob is receiving from the upper mother, and then Jacob is the active male partner in loving Shekhinah, uniting with Shekhinah below. And then, of course, Shekhinah responds back, and then that arousal arouses him even more. So the male lover in divine garb is sandwiched between two females, between Bina and Shechina. Now the Zohar says, and then we're going to be egalitarian. And we're going to make the female be sandwiched between two males. Because Shechina is loved by her divine lover and by her human lover. Both males that way. In other places, and we've had it already, the Zohar then goes one more step in this sandwiching, and that is that every Jewish man in the world below is also sandwiched between two females, because every Jewish male is sandwiched between Shechina and his wife, between the divine feminine lover and the human feminine lover. And this is a correspondence that is valued by the Zohar tremendously. So this is what Rachel has done. Rachel is a liminal figure, right? She engenders divine as well as human righteous lovers. Okay, any comments? No? All right. So Joseph and Benjamin, we're at 357, middle of the page.
So Joseph and Benjamin are both righteous. Joseph merited becoming righteous one above because he guarded the sign of the covenant. Benjamin is righteous one below, so that sabbatical can be crowned between two righteous ones, Joseph the righteous and Benjamin the righteous.
Okay.
But was Benjamin really righteous?
Oh, Craig didn't let me interrupt. Look at that.
Yes. Ah, okay.
Go ahead.
Ah.
Go ahead.
But was Benjamin really righteous? Yes, because all the days of his life he did not sin with the sign of the covenant, although an incident like Joseph's never befell him.
All right, so you're letting me interrupt. Good.
I'm letting you interrupt.
Thank you. So these paragraphs go through an interesting kind of dance themselves. So Joseph and Benjamin are both righteous, and now the Zohar starts unpacking the righteous one above and the righteous one below. How does Joseph become the righteous one above? So the answer we got before is simple, because Rachel begat him, or Rachel, gave birth to him, and Rachel is Shechina, and she gives birth to the righteous one above and the righteous one below. But that's not so simple, right? The righteous one above needs to become the human being that Joseph is, has to struggle to become the righteous one above. Right? If it's only left within the divine bubble, so to speak, then none of this drama is necessary. But to become identified, to become glued to, right, to be cleaving to the divine above, to become the human incarnation of the divine above, the human being has to work at it. The human being has to strive. So how did Joseph become the righteous one? The answer is, and here's we have a little bit of a paradox or a little bit of an irony. He becomes the righteous one above because he resists the wife of Potiphar when she tries to seduce him. So she wants to unite with him below. And what does he say? He says, if I do this, I will be sinning to the Almighty God. If I do that, if I accede to your temptations, to your appeals to me, then I will be sinning to God. So of course that means on the simplest level, he feels that it's immoral. And the rabbis talk about where does he get the sense of morality and so on. He sees his father's image before him. That's Jacob, right? So for the Zohar, Yes, of course he sees Jacob's image before him, because Jacob's image is a divine image. Jacob's image is about a divine lover. And Joseph says, in order for me to be able to be qualified to become the righteous one above, I have to know how to comport myself as a lover below. I can't abuse my erotic capabilities and betray what I can actually become. So therefore he resists Potiphar's wife and earns the name righteous one. And this gives him that standing. I want to see now what Larry McGarrick says. So if we Israel are asked to list our pronouns, it is not so clear what to say. And so too with the divine. Yeah. Many years ago, when I was at a different community, I wrote some, message to the congregation, and I wrote about God. I said her, and one of the loyal congregants, good man, was very upset and said to me, "Rabbi, what are you doing? How can you say her when talking about God?" And I said, "How can we say he? How can we say him? If we can say him, we can say her." So this it takes some getting used to, but absolutely, you're right. If we're created in the image of God, we, the beginning of Genesis, and male and female, he created them in the image of God. So yeah, we're not so simple. Okay, so Joseph strives for a kind of a sanctified sexuality, and knows that it's going to be a betrayal if he engages in this adulterous relationship, and he resists. As a result, he earns the title righteous one above. But then the question is, so, and what's with Benjamin? How does he qualify as the righteous one below? So what's the Zohar's first answer? The Zohar's first answer is because we need a righteous one below. If we got a righteous one above, we need a righteous one below. It's the way these things work. So Benjamin is righteous one below, so that sabbatical can be crowned between two righteous ones. That's the way the setup is. But that's not good enough. Because how does he earn the right to be called righteous as a human being? Right? Who says that Benjamin was so righteous? Good, he's the son of Rachel. But we've had any number of cases of being disappointed with some of the tribe, some of Jacob's sons. So what makes Benjamin so righteous? So here we have, along the same lines, but softer. Yes, because all the days of his life he did not sin through this sign of the covenant. Although an incident like Joseph's never befell him. That kind of dramatic challenge never actually confronted him. He wasn't put into that kind of really sticky situation. But we have it on good authority that Benjamin never strayed, never was promiscuous, never engaged in improper sexual behavior. So the Zohar is taking righteousness here again, both with Joseph and now with Benjamin, in a very narrow frame, right? We're not talking about giving tzedakah, and we're not talking about standing up for other people who are oppressed. We're talking about a very narrow field of righteousness But for the Zohar, it is emblematic of everything else, because the union between God and God, to be able to make God one, is so highly focused by this particular act, because this is what it's all about. This is the union, the act of union, the act of conjunction. And either we succeed in making this possible or not. And we do it for the sake of God, and then the ramifications extend to the rest of the Torah. There's another comment. Mark says, how does Joseph cohabiting with an Egyptian fit in given this week's Parsha? I think that's what you mean, this week's Parsha, right? So, right, what do you mean by given this week's Parsha?
Well, the Midian women.
The Midianite women.
Right.
So look at Moses. Moses married a Midianite woman.
So
right?
so that just makes it even more weird.
So the answer is, it's a simple answer, whether it's satisfying or not. It depends, for the sake of what are you marrying that woman? Are you marrying that woman to be drawn to what the woman wants and represents? That's what we have with the daughters of Midian, who seduced the Israelites to worship Baal Peor. But if it's about taking this woman and incorporating her into your, devotion to God, into yours, becoming part of the Jewish people, then you're showing your devotion to God, and you're a human being after all, but you are exercising your power of direction in the right way. Moses does that with Zipporah. And of course, there we have actually a proof story, right? Where Zipporah circumcises the son, the little baby, when they're threatened on the road. So she's definitely proves herself to be a good guy. Ruth is a Moabite, right? How do we have this whole wonderful Ruth story, and everything? We've talked about it so many times. So the idea, what we have in this week's Torah portion, is revenge against the Midianites, because the Midianites tried to lead the Israelites astray, right? And this is also, blamed on Bilam as a kind of a way to get around all of the blessings that he was forced to give to the Israelites. So that's the simple answer. In that world, the question, it was really about who's the boss. If you let the idol worshiper be the boss, and you go off and excuse it because of your passions, then your passions, that should be a strong force for love in the highest way, are defiled and desecrated, and used to betray God. This is the danger. This is why, there's always this kind of like trembling before sexual energy and passion. So Benjamin here is given the credit as being a person who's, when you have sex responsibly, like in the beer commercials. So he knows what he's there for. Of course, we have no real biblical warrant for this, right? There are no stories about this with regard to Benjamin. What's the one thing we know about Benjamin that we could, at least think about giving him, a title of being good? So the one thing, it's not exactly the most powerful thing in the world, but the one thing we know about Benjamin, he's the one brother who doesn't sell Joseph. He's the one brother who doesn't betray his brother. All the other brothers are guilty of that terrible, history-shattering sin of turning on Joseph, turning on the righteous one. He's the only one who's innocent of that. Now he's innocent because he's not in the place. He's not there. He's held back by his father. But at least if he's not righteous, at least he's innocent of that crime. But the Zohar doesn't touch on that because it's obvious. We all know that. What the Zohar does is it adds this other, as I say, sexualized aspect to the equation or to the calculation of righteousness. And a little bit, though, it comes into play in the next lines, the last lines on the page. What do we have in the next the last couple of lines? If so,
why is he called righteous? Because the whole time Jacob was mourning over Joseph, he did not perform in bed.
Okay, so the Zohar pushes it again and says it's not just that you just live a nice, decent life that gives you that gives you the right to be called righteous. You have to do something special. You have to do something extraordinary to prove righteousness. I mean, otherwise you're good, you're shekoach, but to be called tzaddik, you need to show some kind of extra special commitment. So the Zohar comes up with this answer. And in this, it is a little bit also, true to the biblical story, even though it's making up this whole other piece of it that doesn't exist. The whole time Jacob was mourning over Joseph, he did not perform in bed. So this brings us to the sale of Joseph. This alludes to the fact that Jacob mourns Joseph because he is convinced that Joseph has been murdered either by a wild animal, or maybe the truth is lurking in his mind and he dimly sees it, but he doesn't want to dwell on it. Does he suspect the brothers or not? These are discussions that we always can go into when we read the story in the Torah. But he's mourning the death of Joseph. And what do we have here as a picture of Benjamin? Why is Benjamin called here so righteous? What is this? What does this little short statement tell us? How would you put it in your words? What's righteous here? The Zohar is praising or even elevating Benjamin because of this sentence. So what does this sentence do that's so elevating of Benjamin? What's special here?
It says he abstained from sex during this entire time.
Okay, he abstained. So you can say, wow, look at that. He was an ascetic. He didn't have sex for years, right? For something like 17 years, he didn't have sex. That's a righteous guy. Oh, huh? So yeah, that would be part of what we would say is, just like Joseph, he abstained from having sex with Potiphar's wife. That was for 1 minute. But look at Benjamin. Benjamin abstained from having sex for years. So look at that. What a guy. But this is about righteousness. It's not about sanctity. Sometimes we think about saintly people as being ascetic. Right? We have that concept of kadesh et atzmecha b'mutar lach. Sanctify yourself by avoiding things that you could legitimately be permitted to enjoy, but you say no. I want to become more spiritual and less physical. So that's one aspect, perhaps, of kedusha. But this is about being a tzaddik. Right? So why is this abstention from sex such a righteous act? When is it happening? Did he make a vow? Oh, you know what? I wanted, like people make vows. Like I'm not gonna, speak for a day, or I'm not gonna eat meat for whatever. Did he do something to just purge himself to become more righteous? I'm going to not engage in sex for a bunch of years in order to become more righteous. Is
No.
that where this comes from? Where does it come from?
He's going to abstain from sex as long as his father is mourning. He's going to, he says, why should I have, this pleasure to, I'm going to share in the mourning.
Right. That's the key element here. The key element is his closeness to his father, his devotion to his father, and his participating in his father's pain. How can I have, engage in joyous conjugal relations when my father is devastated? So that connection to his father is part of the ingredients, the stew that's cooked, that becomes a stew of righteousness. It's not simply that he's ascetic. It's the reason that he's ascetic. He's ascetic because he's crying for his father. He feels his father's loss. He feels his father's pain. And of course, remember, this is something that plays out throughout the entire Joseph and his brother's story, because the reason that the rest of the brothers want to kill Joseph is because they resent their father's love of Joseph. Right? Okay, wait, so I see Merle wants to say something.
Yeah. Was he married at the time?
That's the assumption.
So,
If he's not married, then he gets no credit.
okay, but what about the mitzvah or whatever it's called, where a man is supposed to satisfy his wife and all that? So what about that?
That's an important point. Yes, just because he's so close to his father, does Benjamin's wife have to suffer? I think that you're right. That's definitely a question that needs to be asked. And the only way out of it that I can think of, well, before I can say what I can think of, anybody else want to address that question? Yeah, Larry.
Well, I mean, I'm just wondering if the problem here is that, or the suggestion is that during the entire time that Yaakov, meaning Tiferet, understands Joseph to be dead or is in mourning, that Yaakov, that Tiferet is not having an intimate relation, is not coupling with Shechina, and therefore it would be, and that's why Benjamin is abstaining from doing the coupling, the lower coupling, because he knows that the upper coupling is not happening. I guess for 17 years.
Right. Okay. So all of that, it fits into the stew, like I said, into the soup. That's all part of it. Yes. But Merle's question is, so good. So Nu, what about the wife?
Well, there can't be, I mean, I don't know if this is convincing, but there can't really be the normal lower coupling when there is no upper coupling.
So this, brings us again. What about the wife? The wife says, here I am. I'm a human being. We're married. I want to have children. Whether I want to have sex for sex's sake is a whole other story. Whether they love each other is a whole other story. But the Torah generally, in the Zohar's view, recognizes that she's entitled to be treated as a feeling sexual being. So why isn't she entitled? So your answer is because in the heavens above, something is out of whack. Right. So does she know that? Does she accept that? Right? These are, these are important ethical questions, about at whose expense do you become a tzaddik? Right? Who has to pay the price of your righteousness? If it's just you, it's one thing. But what about when it's other people? Do they have to pay the same prices because you want to be a tzaddik? Does she get to be called a tzaddik for not having sexual relations with her husband, while her father-in-law is in distress? So, yeah, Merle.
I can see, just sort of as real life goes along, I can see somebody abstaining from sex because their father's upset, or they're upset that they've lost somebody, their mother or something, the father's wife, for a month, for two, for three, for four, whatever, but not for years. I think that's getting to be a little much. And it's, as you say, it's at somebody else's expense.
Remember what we had before about Joseph working for Rachel? 7 years or like a couple of days.
Yes, but
Dimension of time is experienced relatively. David.
but if Joseph is dead, then there's no hope for an endpoint. Then his commitment to not have relations with his wife never ends.
Right.
Well, until maybe his father passes away, but it never ends.
Okay. Yeah. No, good point. So this is really very hard. This is very, very distressful. So we have to end now. We're going to end a little, we started late, but it's also, we're ending late. It's 9:30. In short, what I would suggest, I think that there has to be buy-in. I think that there has to be an agreement between the couple, that this is going to be something that is endurable by both. It cannot be pushed onto the spouse, the couple, the partner, in the name of my own righteousness. There's got to be some kind of partnership involved.
So just another
Merle,
thought.
no. We're gonna stop right here. We're gonna stop right here. Hold on to that thought, and God willing, we'll continue next time. Okay?
Okay.
Danke sind.